This is the Mackenzie River area. You know, there's a big Mackenzie, the main Mackenzie River, and it branches out to smaller branches, like smaller rivers. There's 3 arms to the Mackenzie, yeah? And this is the 3rd arm.
You're gonna cut the brush from Twin Lake, over here, right to the hospital, right clean. I got 26 men to look after in the bush.
We heard that they were building a new town, and I always wanted to be a carpenter, right? So
when I was 14, 15, 16, 17, I trapped for my grandfather. I left home when I was 18 or 19. I never go back.
Thought to myself, oh, why not? So I signed up for it.
Colin, he said, I raised you up, you was a man.
Town wasn't their home, you know. We were bush people living out on the land.
60 feet wide, we cut all the way to airport. You see, axe, no chainsaw, no power saw, no nothing, just axe. Me, I keep sharpening axe all the time. Keep the axes sharp.
Because Inuvik wasn't here then. We were building it. We were East 3. A clavik was a clavik. You know, if it flooded, it flooded. I mean, if they never brought this place up, a clavik would have been still a clavik. Inuvik wouldn't have been here. But government, they seen the flood, so the clavik gonna sink.
I don't know whether you'd use the word hope. You know, it might be the next big thing that's happening, you know, but I don't know anybody that really said, oh, there's hope for something, because, you know, the supposition that they'd moved the town or moved the location or selected another location because, you know, that a clavik was sinking. Well, we knew that a lot of people will never leave a clavik, and it wasn't really necessarily sinking that bad. And you know, most of us knew that, you know, because of the time that Inuvik was being planned was really in the sort of the Cold War era, and government was really looking for a place where they could build a very large airstrip, and that was really the main plan, or in looking at different sites to find a place where they could have the gravel resources and the foundation to put a large airport.
So a lot of us came with our camping gear from our rat camps. Usually we head over to a clavik, but this time we all move, you know, our camping gear to Inuvik and set up a tent town on the beach of the river. And a lot of us never left. That's how we moved over. The employment went on into, some of them thought we might go back to the camp, but the employment went on after freeze-up. You can't go to the camp by then, you know, back to your camp. So and then of course you imagine there's UI that time, you know, just stayed until, and a lot of us never left. Our camp just went to, disintegrated, I guess, some of our camps in the Delta. We stayed in tent for a couple of years, you know. We stayed on the beach. We stayed in a small tent frame, maybe 10 by 12 for a couple of years. And then the next year, someone built a real nice long tent frame. And they were going to move. They got a house, you know, built a house. So we bought their house, and to me that was a real mansion, moving from a small little tent to this long tent frame, you know. And we stayed there until we formed a cooperative. We formed the cooperative, so maybe for groceries and things like that. But afterwards we said, well, we want to form a cooperative for housing too, you know. So I was involved in all of that. The government built 512s you know, for people. So we moved in there, and it was just a 512, nothing in it, you know. There's the chemical toilet. There was no utilidor then. We're still living in, we're still using chemical toilet, but that was moving from a small little tent frame to a 512 was a real mansion, 2-bedroom, you know, and you have an electric stove, and you have a chemical toilet. At least you could shut the door. They had a little bathroom. There was no tub, you know. There was no tub in that little bathroom, but we had a big rubber tub, and oh, it was the kids really enjoyed that rubber tub. I don't think I have it around. I must have thrown it away.
You had the Canadian forces as well as government and mainly Indian affairs thinking, so most of the housing was built, you know, for the government people who came into town, you know, on the basis that they would have to be looked after the way they were in southern Canada. And Aboriginal people weren't treated the same because it was presumed that it was their home and somehow or other going to make it by, you know. A lot of problems, and one of the problems it does create is because most of the people who were coming in were Caucasian people, and they appeared to be treated a lot better and with more respect than anyone else. And so you create, because of the majority Caucasian, it's a racism, it becomes a racism that you know, that it comes out in the expression of being dissatisfied or angry. And the only thing that was possible to do is to try to find a mechanism to support the Aboriginal people, you know, as a society, because they weren't part of that other society.
There were some non-Aboriginal people that formed a cooperative housing program with us, and we all helped. And then we all ordered our homes from mud tarts in Edmonton, and they came in, and we all helped assemble each other's houses. The first 5 houses that came up, it was who's going to get it? Yeah. So what the men said, Bertha's going to have the first choice because and the lot that she won, because she made the loudest noise to, you know, for these houses. So they gave me the first choice to choose the lot.
I worked with DBW many years, carpenter shop. I had good job. I got carpenter ticket, and then 1971, 72, he told me, we're going to send you to Edmonton to get your journeyman, you see, journeyman carpenter. Well, you can't hold your job without journeyman. I got 7 children and my wife. I changed my mind. I said, I'm not going to Edmonton. I'm not going to take that journeyman. Next day I got job in Sam's school. Same, I quit my job at 12 o'clock and I go to work in Sam's school 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I had 4 hours off. But big difference though when I get off carpenter work. Carpenter wages is really high, and the school job was really well, I had to do it. I worked 23 years in Sam's school. I had only one holiday down south. I always take my holidays in the land.
Everybody went to their travel line. Everybody had a place that they go to every year, and the whole family go. It's like a spring holiday when I think about it. And you soon learn how to skin muskrats at an early age. You just didn't play around. There's lots of work to do, you know, and it's hot. You have to beat the sun because the sun could ruin your catch. You had to get up early. You have to help skin the muskrats, and you have to stretch the rats. You let the hunter sleep, you know. You let the hunter get their sleep. And my grandmother, I helped her a lot when I was home with them. And then you learn that as you set up your own home, you know, that's a role of, you don't have to be taught again.
High people take over. Before that, before them kind of gentlemen people, before gentlemen people take over the shop, all native work together.
To say that people change, people are always going to change. Cultures, you know, the culture changes as you move along. And there are a lot of people here that are still very traditional, but they work and they participate. But you know what has to be recognized that, you know, particularly among the Inuvialuit society, you know, they've been involved with the whaling days that were in the early 1900s. And then, you know, there were a lot of changes in their life over a short period of time. The religious factors, the Dew Line situation where there was a lot of activity, and then the building of the town of Inuvik. So over a period of time, there were always, every 10 years, there was something that caused changes or people to adjust or adapt to trying to get the most out of the new opportunities more than anything else.
You know, I feel like this is my town because I built it. Help build it in a way.
It's a big kink on the Inuvik after that. Yeah, everything changed after Navy left. Used to be nice baseball going and sports all the time. And then you have friends with Navy guys, and we go hunting with Navy guys. And yeah, he liked to go geese hunting in September, them boys. We used to take them out, me and my brother.
And then we had the oil and gas boom, and then that sort of subsided. And then we're sort of looking at more activity now. So Inuvik has never been able to say this is the kind of community we are, because we were always anticipating some economic base that you could rely on over a longer period of time. Inuvik, as far as I can see, is thriving, wants to thrive, and wants to be important, and wants to take its place in society as a whole. But there are a lot of people putting a lot of effort into it. So a lot of the activities or a lot of the infrastructure was built to accommodate a modern town with modern decisions from, you know, like a southern perspective. You know, like when Inuvik was first built, you never saw an Aboriginal person who drove around in a truck, maybe a big gravel truck to build up the, you know, the airport, you know, and many, many years went by before you saw Aboriginal people actually owning their own vehicles and their own infrastructure, you know. So that's good, you know, that I think that's made a lot of people move forward. A lot of the infrastructure really was formed around government and institutions that government was familiar with, okay, and churches. But in terms of getting infrastructure for community, as a community, a traditional community, there was not a lot of infrastructure. Most of the places where you could have community events were halfway condemned buildings. And so you're pushed into working in a venue that it may not be your choosing, but you know, you're advised very strongly from Caucasians, from other people that you know very well, that we are not going to get anywhere. The Aboriginal people will not get anywhere unless they institutionalize themselves in such a way that governments can recognize them.
I guess unique thing is it was built by, the people from this area. We, a lot of us had sat on town council, and a lot of them helped build Inuvik up. A lot of them helped start when they knew that if the government didn't say, gee, we can't fund you because there's part of money for Eskimo, there's part of money is for Indian people, we'd probably still all be called Ingamo, But that's how a lot of us got separated for funding and land claim groups. Town of Inuvik is made up of all three groups as one strong body. When you come to a dude down at Ingamo Hall, you don't look at saying they're Eskimo, they're Indian, they're sitting over there, you sit over there. It's all open to everybody in town, but it's just too small now.
But the town spread it out, there was a group of houses, maybe 10, 15, 20 houses one side of the road, on each side. And then they started building the schools and hospital and big northern store buildings, hotels start coming in. And then that's when they built the utilidors.
When we moved here, we still had to have chemical toilet and that part of town, because there's hospital there. They were lucky; they had flush toilets and that. And then when we formed the cooperative housing, we didn't have any utilidor on this site yet. But I don't know how many years later, maybe 5, 10 years later, we finally got utilidor, and one of the fathers say, "Come, look here, look at what's going to happen to your poop," and flushed a new toilet. And it was so strange for the little kids to know that they don't have to see their poop in the pot all the time. And then they say, "Where did it go?" It's traveling through the pipe all the way down to Shit Lake. That's the way one father explained it to his bewildered son, wondering where his poop was going to go to. We all live in harmony. We all know our own respective groups. We know what we expect them to do, but you've learned to live in harmony in small communities. Everybody work together. If there's going to be a big traditional dance, that's just not for Nuvialut or it's just for the Gwich'in. It's for everybody. Everybody put their resources together and put on a big celebration. So really, it's just for the government to say that if you want to get land claim, you have to belong to a respective group that represent you. We had a training center here for many years, and a lot of not only women, Aboriginal men too. They have their voices were not heard. So we did a lot. We did a lot of work with them too. We just said we just can't. The men said, "Why just take in women? We need it just as bad." So we opened it to men too. And as a result of that, their voices are heard too. They were not any better off than we were, with their voices not being heard. Now, I don't think you could pull the wool over anybody's eyes. Now everybody know what their rights are, what they're entitled to, their land claim and the land claim groups. They all know, so life is much better today for what has, the initiative that was taken many years ago when Inuvik was just a new town. Yeah.
When people find ways, the determined people who want to see something done, they find ways and means to get there. Yeah. And it all is got to do with a lot of work and a lot of dedication. It's a continuous effort.
We just had no place to let out steam and dance, eh? We wanted to get a building, eh? And I don't know, what did we have? A big Hudson Bay? I can't remember. So when it was, when we did get something organized, you know, all of us in town, a social group, it was a social group, it was not a political group. He didn't say you're Inuvik, you could, you know, you're Métis. So we formed a social group and saying, gee, you know, we want a hall of our own.
Ingamo started. There was a little old Hudson Bay building then, got donated to us. I was in the board, so I asked the board, see if we can use the hall on nights that's not used. See if I can get some boys interested to start playing the games. Well, it was easy. They said, sure.
The purpose of the games were to keep you fit so that you can go out when you're hunting. They don't have to really worry about you, so that you can take care of yourself. Sometimes you're out in the country, your life will be saved through the games because your reflexes work fast and you're thinking fast, and you know you can do it. You know you can, when you're going into some tight spot, you know you can go through there.
Abel was there for sure. He was always there. And there was Jerry Cassoon, Roy Eppan, Tommy Chixie, all of them. Tommy Smith, the whole works.
Maybe send your kids to the hall there. I just say, send your kids down there, let them watch, or maybe they'll get involved, and you never know what happens from there. I just say, you know, parents, try to get your kids involved with these games, and because it's part of our lives, and you know, we should carry it on.
When I think about them days, I feel so proud of them boys taking it after, you know, they got it now. They're taking it and they're keeping it going. When you see something like that, it makes your shoulders get white. And that's just the way I feel. You know, my feelings towards that, because I was involved in it right from day one. I'm very happy that it got started and going the way it is. But we got to keep on going so that it could get bigger and better.
Now we've got major drum dance groups, and, you know, and certain with Arctic sports, which really began here in terms of the promotion and getting it going. It's all over the Arctic now, and so those are things people can be pretty proud of. But it just started locally because something was not happening locally. Someone says, we got to do something about it. And different people got together, they had different ideas, and we all worked together to say, how do we get there?
Somebody named Inuvik here, I think he won $50.
We were building it. We were East Street.